They thought firing me 23 hours before my massive equity bonus would save them millions. They had no idea I'd buried a poison pill in my contract 3 years ago. One signature triggered a trap that wouldn't just pay me my $2.8 million, it would cost them everything. The name's Howard Sheffield. I'm 48 years old, and this is where my story really begins. I knew something was wrong the second I walked into the TechForge Solutions lobby that Tuesday morning. It wasn't what I heard, it was what I didn't hear. Usually, Susan, our receptionist who knew everyone's coffee preferences by heart, would wave and ask about my son's college applications. Today, she kept her head down, typing furiously on a keyboard that wasn't even plugged in. My phone buzzed against my hip, sharp, insistent double tap of an Outlook priority notification. The screen lit up, urgent performance review, 9:15 a.m., Confroom 4C, subject line in all caps, no body text, no courtesy sign-off. Cute, I muttered, though my stomach did a little flip. Let me set the stage here. I wasn't some junior developer struggling to keep up with the latest framework. I was the Chief Technology Officer at TechForge Solutions. For the past 3 years, I'd led the digital transformation that took us from a struggling fintech startup to a company valued at $600 million. We'd just closed the biggest deal in company history, a $30 million contract with First National Bank. I'd built that deal from scratch, working 80-hour weeks, missing my kids' baseball games, and basically living on coffee and determination. When you've worked in high-stakes tech as long as I have, and when you're a Navy veteran who learned to read situations during 2 deployments in the Persian Gulf, you develop a sixth sense. Right now, standing in that silent lobby with Susan avoiding eye contact, my gut was screaming danger. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt like ascending to a tribunal. I took the long way to my office, not out of fear, but strategy. In the Navy, we called it situational awareness. I needed to see who was avoiding me. I passed the break room where 3 junior developers suddenly stopped talking when they saw me. One kid, a promising engineer I'd been mentoring for 2 years, helping him prep for his AWS certifications, literally ducked into the supply closet to avoid saying good morning. That's when I knew this wasn't a performance review. It was an execution. You have to understand, I'd been through this before. Twice, actually. Once in 2008 during the financial crash, and again in 2015 when another startup I worked for got acquired and restructured. Both times, I was blindsided. Both times, I walked out with nothing but a cardboard box and a generic severance package. I swore it would never happen again. That's why, 3 years ago when I negotiated my contract with TechForge, I'd learned from those hard lessons. Roger Hamilton, our boy genius CEO, who was all of 29 at the time, thought he was getting a grizzled tech veteran who'd keep his head down and build systems. What he actually got was someone who'd been burned before and wasn't about to let it happen again. I slipped into my office and went straight to my desk, but I didn't log into my computer. Instead, I opened the bottom drawer of my file cabinet. Buried under a stack of quarterly reports and compliance manuals was a leather portfolio containing my original employment contract. 8 pages of dense legal text on cream-colored paper. I flipped to page 7, Clause 11C. I read it twice, running my finger over the text, feeling the slight indentation where the laser printer had burned the words into the page. Then I traced the initials in the margin. LP, Linda Parker, RH, Roger Hamilton, GH, George Hudson. All still there. Blue ink, slightly faded after 3 years, but legally binding. This clause was my insurance policy against exactly the kind of corporate backstabbing I was about to walk into. I remembered negotiating it like it was yesterday. I was recovering from pneumonia, dialing into a conference call from a hospital bed, feeling vulnerable and mortal. Lying there with an IV in my arm, I'd realized that loyalty in tech is a currency that devalues the moment you stop generating profit. The language was surgical. If terminated without cause within 48 hours of a vesting event, I wouldn't just get my equity. I'd get double the amount, plus my annual salary, plus legal fees if they fought it. And tomorrow, exactly 23 hours from now, my 3-year equity package was scheduled to vest. $2.8 million worth. Roger had laughed when I insisted on the clause during our final contract negotiation. "You're paranoid, Howard," he'd said, swirling his craft beer in his glass. "It's just standard retention language, whatever makes you happy." "Whatever makes me happy," I whispered to my empty office. But Roger had forgotten one crucial thing. Navy guys don't negotiate for happiness. We negotiate for strategic advantage. We plan for the worst-case scenario and hope for the best. I'd spent 12 years in the Navy, including time as a communications officer coordinating logistics during Desert Storm. You learn to think 3 moves ahead when other people's lives depend on your decisions. Corporate America was just a different kind of battlefield, with lawyers instead of artillery and spreadsheets instead of strategy maps. The irony wasn't lost on me. Roger and his Stanford MBA friends probably saw me as some old-school military guy who didn't understand their disruptive innovation mindset. What they didn't realize was that the military had taught me the most important lesson of all. Always have an exit strategy, and always document everything. I folded the contract carefully and slid it into my leather portfolio. Time for the show. I stood up, adjusted my blazer, and checked my reflection in the darkened monitor of my computer. I didn't look like a victim. I looked like someone who'd just realized he was holding all the cards while his opponents were betting the house on a pair of 2s. Conference room 4C had its blinds drawn when I arrived. I opened the door and stepped inside. The atmosphere was sterile and smelled faintly of nervous sweat and Linda Parker's aggressive perfume. Linda sat at the head of the table, flanked by 2 HR representatives I barely recognized, young, terrified, and looking like they'd swallowed a handful of thumbtacks. "Howard," Linda said, offering a grimace that was supposed to pass for empathy. She gestured to the empty chair opposite her. "Thanks for joining us on such short notice." "Of course," I said, my voice steady. "I always make time for my team." Nobody smiled. The air in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. I placed my leather portfolio on the table, aligning it perfectly with the edge, military precision in everything. Then sat down. Linda had a single sheet of paper in front of her, typed and face down. I would have bet my entire 401k that it was my termination notice. "I'll get right to it," Linda began, her voice trembling slightly. "We're undergoing significant restructuring as part of a strategic realignment approved by the board. We're eliminating several senior positions to optimize our operational efficiency." Operational efficiency. Corporate speak for we want to save money by getting rid of expensive people. She paused, waiting for me to react. I didn't. I just maintained the same neutral expression I'd used during military briefings when commanding officers delivered bad news. "Unfortunately," she continued, rushing the words now, "your position is being eliminated effective immediately. This decision is final and has been approved by leadership." Leadership. She meant Roger. Roger, who was currently hiding in his corner office, probably checking cryptocurrency prices while waiting for the unpleasantness to be over. Roger, who thought firing experienced people made him look innovative and forward-thinking to the board. "I see," I said calmly. Linda blinked, clearly surprised. She'd expected a fight, maybe some begging, certainly an emotional outburst. She was prepared for tears, armed with tissues and corporate platitudes about exciting new opportunities and wishing me well in my future endeavors. "I'll need your badge," she added, her voice dropping to almost a whisper, "and your company devices." I reached into my pocket, unclipped my badge, and slid it across the table. It made a harsh scraping sound against the polished wood. "Understood. We have security waiting to escort you to your desk to collect your personal effects," one of the HR reps piped up, his voice cracking like a teenager's. "That won't be necessary," I said calmly. "I travel light these days." Poor Linda looked relieved. She thought the hard part was over. She thought they'd won. She had no idea that by firing me today, exactly 23 hours before my equity vested, they hadn't saved the company $2.8 million. They'd just triggered the most expensive mistake in TechForge history. What Linda didn't realize, what none of them grasped, was that I'd been planning for this moment for 3 years. Every document I'd signed, every email I'd sent, every conversation I'd had with legal had been carefully calculated. I didn't just have a contract, I had a weapon. "Is there anything else?" I asked, standing up. Linda shook her head, looking like she wanted to collapse from relief. "No, that's all. We'll mail you the Cobra information and final paperwork." "Thank you, Linda," I said, picking up my portfolio. "You've been very thorough." I walked out of conference room 4C like I was heading to lunch. My stride was even, my breathing controlled. I didn't slam the door. I closed it gently with a soft click. The war had just begun, and they didn't even know they were already under siege. Instead of heading to the parking garage like they expected, I took the elevator to the 12th floor, legal and compliance. My badge still worked. They wouldn't scrub my access until noon, which gave me exactly what I needed. The legal department smelled like printer toner, burnt coffee, and the kind of expensive cologne that young lawyers wore to feel important. I found Paul Hendricks in his office, surrounded by case files and looking like he'd been surviving on caffeine and stress for the past month. Paul was assistant counsel, a sharp kid who'd worked with me during our major banking compliance audits. More importantly, he was a fellow veteran, Marines, 2 tours in Afghanistan. We understood each other in a way that transcended corporate politics. When civilians panic, veterans execute. "Howard," he said, looking up from his computer screen. Susan downstairs said. "She said they let you go?" "Effective immediately," I confirmed, taking a seat without being asked. No cause cited. No severance discussion. No mention of any equity implications. His brow furrowed. "What equity implications?" I opened my portfolio and handed him page 7 of my contract. Clause 11C, paragraph 3, subsection A. Paul took the paper and read it. Once, then again, then a third time much slower. His face didn't change. Lawyers are trained to maintain poker faces, but his eyes sharpened like a camera lens snapping into focus. "Did you negotiate this during your original hiring?" he asked quietly. 3 years ago, I said. They initialed every page. Roger even asked what the multiplier clause meant. I told him it was standard retention language to cover transitional risk if I left voluntarily. Paul sat back in his chair, letting out a breath he seemed to have been holding. "Howard, this clause is bulletproof. If they terminated you within 48 hours of a scheduled vesting event without documented cause, they don't just owe you your equity. They owe you double that amount plus your annual salary. Plus legal fees if they contest it," I added. "Plus legal fees," he confirmed. And Linda signed the implementation memo last December. I remember reviewing it. Paul let out a soft, almost admiring laugh. "They thought they could short-circuit your payout by firing you early. But this clause doesn't prevent the payout. It multiplies it." "Exactly. This is going to cause absolute chaos upstairs," he muttered, staring at the ceiling as if he could see through the floors to where the executives were probably congratulating themselves on their cost-cutting measures. "I'd prefer if this came from you initially," I said. "You've got relationships I don't have anymore. I'd rather watch this company implode from the inside out than create a public spectacle." Paul nodded slowly. "I'll take this to Patricia Reynolds immediately. She's going to want to review every document, every email, every conversation related to your termination." Patricia Reynolds was our lead counsel, former JAG officer, tough as nails, and someone who appreciated strategic thinking over emotional reactions. "One more thing," I said, standing up. "They're going to claim this was a routine restructuring. You might want to check if they've documented any performance issues or cost-saving justifications for my specific role." Paul was already pulling up files on his computer. "I'll check the employment database right now." As I walked toward the door, he called after me. "Howard, this is either the most brilliant insurance policy I've ever seen or the most devastating corporate suicide I've witnessed." I smiled. From where I'm sitting, it's both. The elevator doors closed, and I allowed myself one moment of satisfaction. In exactly 23 hours, my equity would have vested automatically. Now, thanks to their impatience and arrogance, it was going to cost them twice as much. Sometimes the best revenge is simply letting people destroy themselves. I didn't go home. Going home is what victims do. They go home, they drink beer, they call their buddies to complain about getting screwed over. I went to Murphy's Deli 4 blocks from Tech Forge headquarters, one of those old school places where the coffee was strong, the Wi-Fi was reliable, and I had a clear line of sight to our building's revolving doors. I sat at a corner table, opened my laptop, my personal one naturally, and waited. It didn't take long. At 10:45 a.m., barely 40 minutes after I'd left Paul's office, my phone buzzed. Text from Karen Wheeler in compliance. "Patricia just stormed into HR. Linda looks like she swallowed a live grenade. They're scrambling for performance documentation on you." I typed back, "Do they have any?" "Not a single write-up in 5 years. You're cleaner than a NASA lab." Another buzz. This time from Paul. "Patricia wants every email, every memo, every document related to your termination." Roger just got pulled out of his quarterly board presentation. He's sweating bullets. Of course he was. Classic panic mode. I opened my email and decided it was time to turn the screws a little tighter. I composed a message to Patricia Reynolds, Paul Hendricks, and copied Karen Wheeler on it. Subject line: Clause 11C, supporting documentation. I attached a single video file that I'd been saving for exactly this moment. It was a screen recording from the Zoom meeting where my contract amendment was finalized 3 years ago. I'd recorded it myself, old military habit of documenting important conversations. The timestamp showed 14:02, and there was Roger's voice, clear as a bell. Yeah, whatever legal wants. Just get Howard to stay through the transition. If he wants some golden parachute clause, fine. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I'm not worried about some hypothetical scenario. I smiled as I hit send. The read receipts started pinging back almost immediately. One from Patricia, one from Paul. Then the forwarding notifications started. Patricia forwarding to the board chair, Patricia forwarding to Roger, Patricia forwarding to Linda. I could picture it perfectly. Patricia sliding her laptop across that polished conference table, Roger watching his own face on the screen, listening to his own arrogant voice dismiss the very legal weapon that was about to end his career. My phone rang within 10 minutes. Linda Parker's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to her message. Howard, there's been a significant misunderstanding regarding your departure today. We need to discuss alternative arrangements. Please call me immediately so we can clarify the situation. Alternative arrangements? As if she could hit undo on a termination that had already triggered a multi-million-dollar liability. I didn't call back. Instead, I ordered another coffee and opened my backup documentation folder. 3 years of careful preparation. Every email saved, every conversation logged, every decision documented with military precision. The next email arrived an hour later, this time from Patricia Reynolds herself. Howard, in light of recent documentation review, TechForge is prepared to enter immediate mediation regarding your employment situation. Please confirm your legal representation's availability. They wanted a quiet room, confidential negotiations, and a settlement check just big enough to make me go away but small enough to save Roger's reputation. But they'd forgotten something important. I'd read every word of that contract, including the fine print they'd ignored. I typed my reply. Patricia, per Clause 11C subsection D. In the event of wrongful termination without cause, employee retains sole discretion to waive mediation and proceed directly to litigation or board review. I am exercising that discretion. I decline mediation. I will await the board of directors' decision regarding full contract enforcement, or if you prefer, we can discuss it in court. I have plenty of time. I'm currently unemployed. I hit send and watched that little blue progress bar zip across my screen. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text from Paul. Holy shit. Sorry, but holy shit. Patricia just called an emergency board meeting. Roger's locked in his office with the blinds closed. Word is spreading through the building like wildfire. Another text from Karen. Accounting is doing emergency calculations. Someone said they're looking at a $5.6 million payout plus legal fees. Linda's having what looks like a panic attack. I leaned back in my chair, watching the city move around me. People hurrying to meetings, grabbing lunch, living their normal Tuesday lives. None of them knowing that 4 blocks away, a Fortune 500 company was imploding because they thought they could outsmart a Navy veteran who'd spent 3 years preparing for this exact moment. The beauty of military training isn't just the discipline or the strategic thinking. It's the patience, the ability to wait for exactly the right moment to execute a plan that's been years in the making. At 2:30 p.m., my phone rang. I recognized the number. Richard Taylor, board member and former CEO of a defense contractor. Someone who understood the value of experience over flash. Howard, his voice was tired, but respectful. I've been reviewing your employment situation. I appreciate that, Richard. I've also reviewed the video evidence, the contract terms, and frankly, the complete lack of documentation supporting your termination. He paused. Your contract clause is not just enforceable, it's ironclad. I negotiated it carefully. Roger claims he never understood the implications. Roger signed it anyway. 3 times, actually. Initial contract, amendment, and final approval. There was a long pause. Howard, we're prepared to honor the full terms of Clause 11C, your equity multiplier, salary continuation, and associated benefits. The total comes to $5.6 million. I closed my eyes for a moment. 3 years of planning, 3 years of careful preparation, 3 years of being underestimated by people who thought age made you irrelevant instead of dangerous. I appreciate the board taking swift action, I said. About Roger. Richard's voice dropped lower. Yes? He's been reassigned to special projects, effective immediately. He'll be working out of our satellite office. Special projects. Corporate purgatory. Roger would spend the rest of his contract in a windowless office knowing he'd been outmaneuvered by the guy he thought he could discard like outdated software. The wire transfer will be completed by end of business tomorrow, Richard continued. And Howard? Yes. For what it's worth, this whole situation has been a learning experience for our leadership team about the value of institutional knowledge and respecting the people who built this company. I smiled, watching the sun reflect off the TechForge building's glass facade. That's good to hear, Richard. Experience has its advantages. After I hung up, I sat there for another few minutes, just absorbing the moment. Not revenge, exactly. Justice. The kind that comes when preparation meets opportunity and arrogance meets consequence. My phone buzzed one last time. Text from my son at college. Dad, just wanted to say thanks for working so hard to pay for school. Love you. I smiled and typed back. Don't worry about the money, son. Dad's got it covered. 6 months later, I was sitting in a corner office on the 15th floor of Patriot Defense Systems, looking out at downtown Denver's skyline. The mountains were visible in the distance, snow-capped and permanent, like the kind of stability you can only get when you stop chasing the latest trend and start building something that lasts. My new business cards read Chief Technology Officer, same title as before. But everything else was different. Better. The company valued experience over Instagram followers. The CEO was 58, a former Air Force colonel who understood that wisdom doesn't come with a college degree. It comes with decades of making mistakes and learning from them. The $5.6 million from TechForge had been wired exactly as promised. After taxes, it was enough to pay off my son's entire college education, put a healthy chunk toward retirement, and still have enough left over for that fishing cabin in Montana I'd been dreaming about since my Navy days. But the money wasn't the real victory. The real victory was watching what happened to companies that think experience is a liability instead of an asset. TechForge's stock price had dropped 23% in the 3 months after my departure. Turns out that firing your entire institutional knowledge base doesn't actually improve efficiency. It destroys it. 2 more senior engineers had quit within weeks of my termination, citing hostile age discrimination in their exit interviews. The First National Bank contract I'd spent months negotiating fell apart when their new 26-year-old CTO couldn't answer basic questions about regulatory compliance. Roger Hamilton lasted exactly 4 months in his basement exile before pursuing new opportunities. Corporate speak for getting fired with a legal settlement that included a strict non-disclosure agreement. Last I heard, he was working for a crypto startup in Austin, probably telling anyone who'd listen about how he was a visionary disrupted by corporate politics. Linda Parker had lasted 2 months longer before deciding to spend more time with her family. The new HR director was a 45-year-old former military officer who implemented company-wide bias training and age discrimination protocols. Sometimes change has to come from the top down, but sometimes it comes from the lawsuit potential up. The funniest part? 3 different companies had reached out to me directly after word spread about how I'd handled the TechForge situation. Apparently, news travels fast in the defense contractor community when someone demonstrates that you can't just throw away decades of experience without consequences. One of those calls came from my current boss at Patriot Defense, Colonel Mike Harrison. "We don't hire people despite their age," he'd told me during my interview. "We hire them because of it. Experience is our competitive advantage, not our embarrassment." That's the difference between companies that understand value and companies that chase trends. Mike had spent 30 years in the Air Force before transitioning to defense contracting. He knew that the 22-year-old who can code all night is useful, but the 48-year-old who can prevent the entire project from failing due to regulatory oversight is invaluable. My son graduated last month, debt-free, with a degree in mechanical engineering. He's working for a renewable energy company in Colorado, close enough that we can grab dinner on weekends. When he asks about career advice, I tell him the same thing my old Navy commander told me. Plan for the worst, document everything, and never let anyone convince you that experience is a weakness. The tech industry has this obsession with youth, as if wisdom expires at 35 and innovation only comes from people who've never seen a market crash. But here's what they don't understand. Disruption isn't about age. It's about thinking differently. And sometimes, thinking differently means thinking ahead. Every contract I negotiate now includes protective clauses. Every email I send gets archived. Every conversation about performance or restructuring gets documented. It's not paranoia, it's preparation. Because the only thing more expensive than hiring experienced people is firing them improperly. Last week, I got a call from Paul Hendricks, my former ally at TechForge. He'd left the company 2 months after I did, and was now working for a law firm that specializes in employment protection for senior-level executives. You've become something of a legend, he told me. Half the tech executives in Denver are rewriting their contracts based on your Clause 11C strategy. Good, I said. Maybe it'll make companies think twice before treating experience like a liability. Speaking of which, Paul continued, would you be interested in consulting on employment contract negotiations? We've got a lot of senior executives who want to learn how to protect themselves. I'm considering it. There's something appealing about teaching other experienced professionals how to turn corporate ageism into corporate liability. Call it paying forward the lessons learned from 30 years of watching companies choose flash over substance. The truth is, corporate America has a choice to make. They can keep chasing the myth that innovation requires inexperience, or they can learn to value the people who've already made the mistakes and know how to avoid them. As for me, I'm 48 years old, sitting in an office where my gray hair is considered an asset, working for a company that measures success in decades rather than quarters. I've got job security, financial security, and the satisfaction of knowing that sometimes the tortoise really does beat the hare. And if another Roger Hamilton ever tries to push me aside for being outdated, well, let's just say I've got plenty more clauses where that one came from. Experience isn't just about what you know, it's about knowing what's coming next.